great idea.
You know,
pitch that to Mike.
I've been telling the mics, but
you need a little, you do. We usually just grab a cup of coffee and then take off, but maybe a pastry. The cookies there are really good, which I think Mike's mom makes.
Yeah. Mike's mom's cookies are pretty delicious.
Very good.
How did you find the process of publishing this book? Because this is a self-published process, and you're just starting in this venture too, because you're going to have to you have at least one distribution spot, which is great. But how did you find that process and working through this and producing it yourself?
I mean, it's been a learning process along the way. Like I said, Moscow and Alexander from Head High really helped. James from Labor, he owns a skate shop in the city. He's been amazing. He actually connected me with the person that printed the book.
Nice. Who is that, if you don't mind me? Or do they not want to be known? Is there?
They do want to be known. It's on the first page. It was in Slovenia. It was
okay. Oddi Sales.
Yeah.
ODDI Sales in Slovenia. Nice.
Yeah. They printed a couple of friends' books, and just the process was super smooth and really easy. And they have offices here in New York, so it made it a little bit easier. But it was still I didn't get to see any proofs.
Really?
It was all PDFs and digital, and so when it came back, I was like, "Oh man!"
Please bleed out all the way.
Yeah, please turn out. Please don't be. Excuse me. Please don't be blurry. But it was just figuring it out as I go. I've worked on magazines for friends in the past, so I'm familiar with the programs and laying things out. And as a designer, familiar with InDesign and all that. So laying it out was fairly natural. Some of the getting the final files together was a little, took me some time. But yeah, in terms of getting the book out there, just figuring it out. Head High is going to carry it. Chris from Pilgrim is going to carry it. It's been super grateful.
Hopefully locals will carry it.
I talked to Joe Falcone.
Oh, Alameda is going to carry it now. There you go. You got the New York distribution going right here already. It's it's already caked into it in some ways.
Right. Everybody's been super supportive and down to grab it. And then, everything with setting up a website now on Shopify and
so easy.
It's so easy. It's wild. So that's been, pretty awesome. And then James from Labor, he helped me make the book in terms of getting it made.
Nice.
And he's been just awesome around giving me pointers, how to get it out there, how to talk to people and set up invoicing and getting Shopify going and all that. So
next part will be the taxes that you have to figure out.
Let's not talk about that just yet.
Get your wife to help you with that part. Maybe.
Exactly.
Hey, so how did you come about to New York? You've been here for about 11 years, did you say, in your bio? But how did you grew up in Colorado originally? What part of Colorado did you grow up in?
I grew up in Evergreen, which is 30 minutes west of Denver.
Yeah.
It's a little mountain town, the foothills of Colorado. And I grew up there, went to college there, lived in Denver for a little bit, and then I was working in the agency world for a company, and it was just time for me to get out of Colorado and check out new areas. And I grew up skating and snowboarding, so I was like, oh man, I'm gonna go to California. I'm gonna skate. I'm gonna learn to surf. If I can get to the mountains, I can still from there. It's still pretty accessible. So I moved. I got a job at an agency, and I moved to Newport Beach,
nice.
Costa Mesa area, Newport Beach, and I was there for about 4 months, and drove out. And the company that I took a job for wound up selling beforehand, and just there was a huge change in the people that were running the company. Come back to surfing. I remember when I interviewed, the guy drove me by the wedge, and it was I was like, holy shit!
You're I'm not going to go surf. I'm not learning in there, right?
I'm not going there. But this lifestyle seems amazing. So yeah, I was actually there for about 4 months, and the company was just really rocky. I was sleeping. We were working in the old Volcom warehouse in Costa Mesa.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty close to the beach. It was 5 minutes from my house, so I didn't have to drive or anything, but it was super rocky. I was working insane hours. I was sleeping at the office a little bit. Sometimes we'd like pop down to the beach and like just like chill out because we only had like an hour or two and then had to go back to the office. So I just decided that it wasn't really for me.
Yeah.
And then
you get soft in California anyway, man.
Right.
Come on. Like everything's all nice and warm and it's all there. And like the surfing part is like, people have probably heard me say this, but like I always liken surfing out there is like agricultural and surfing here is hunter-gatherer, right. You know? It's feast or famine.
That's true. That's true. Like if I'm going to work this much, I need to be in New York.
Yeah, exactly. You might as well.
Might as well.
So you just said, all right, I'm picking up and moving to New York, or was it an opportunity that presented itself?
I got a job. The company that I'd always kind of wanted to work for at the time. Just hit me up while I was out there, and I was like, "Oh man, okay, this isn't going very well. Like, I'll try it out and see what happens." And
were you aware of surfing in New York at the time?
No, absolutely not.
Oh wow!
So it was more like I'll go there for to try working at this company. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I knew skateboarding in the city was pretty amazing. Yeah. So that was a draw, and then I had a couple friends out here that made the transition a lot easier that I knew from school. One of them hired me.
Nice.
So yeah, that was my introduction to New York. I think it's been like 11, 12 years now. I thought I was going to be here for a year, and I was like, then I'm going to go back to California or go back to Colorado, and I'm still here.
A lot of people say that, you know, and it just kind of captures you and draws you in, and the more you discover that you can do here, the accessibility of certain things, like surfing, I would argue is almost more accessible than living in LA, you know. You can... Sure, we don't have as many ways, you know, it's not as consistent, but it's so much quicker and easier just to get to the beach. And you can just sit on the train if you want, you know, and read a book instead of pulling your hair out, driving in traffic, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, that's also a nice thing. When did you discover surfing here then? How did you come about that?
I was surfing a little bit in California, but it was probably, like when I was moved here, I was just like figuring it out. So surfing really wasn't on my radar, but I probably started surfing maybe like 2 years in. I had a friend with a car.
Nice.
And we started coming down, rented boards from boarders, and then just started kind of figuring it out, buying boards on Craigslist and getting to the beach more, trying to like get a zip car, go to Jersey. And then, I think the first like new surfboard that I got was from Rick Malwitz.
Oh man, he's great.
Really good dude and really like
great shaper,
super nice. And I just was a big fan of his boards. And I think he moved from Jersey to Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
at the time, and he was like, oh, I think I'm just gonna do some shaping for like full time for a little bit. And I was like, okay, it's a good time to get a board from him. So
nice.
That was one of the first boards I got, but I had, just like some random stuff off of Craigslist that I would find and like use for a bit and then trade it out. But, you figured out that way.
Craigslist here for surfboards is surprisingly bare and difficult compared to like the West Coast.
I feel like things go really fast.
Yeah.
Things are up, like things will come through our little group chat really quick and they're just like, oh, okay.
And they're not cheap.
Nope.
It's they're like, especially that mid-length, size where everyone who's learning wants to get something along that fun board size.
Right.
And then next thing you know, like, boom, it goes for almost more than probably a cost originally sometimes. It's kind of hilarious, I find, how board scarce we are over here.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I set up Craigslist notifications for a little while there and, just to like compete because I'm not going to check it regularly. So I'm like, oh, I need the little alert system to tell me.
It's the board swap sales that are key. So I find like Pilgrim has a really nice one.
Yep.
My family's surf shop out in Long Island, we used to do one. We do one in like, holy crap! Like some gems would come through, just some clueless person, and then. So a lot of times I would blow it because I would be way too excited right away. I was like, yeah, I want to I'll buy it off you. I'll buy it for like $200. And they're like, wait a minute. Well, maybe I could get it for $3. And you're like, fuck. Showed my cards too early.
Poker face.
And now you do design, like, and like art direction. Is that correct? Like,
It was more art direction. I've transitioned into more like, I guess, into the sort of like app and web space now, where it's more like UI and UX and user experience. And but when I was coming up in Colorado, I did a lot of art direction and design and that. But the industry's changed so much.
Really?
So now we live on our phones and we live on websites and.
So what does that mean with the experience? Like going through just like what the app, like the whole process, are you involved with the mapping out of all the different routes you can take on an app basically?
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird thing to explain. I think I've explained it to my mom like 50 times and she's still like, I don't know what the hell you do.
You make apps. That's what she says, exactly. Right?
Like that one's okay. I use that one. But yeah, I mean, it's mapping out the experience. I think the best analogy is, I guess, think of it like architecture and think of it like the design of a building.
Right.
And you can basically go into this website or this app, and it's effectively a building, and you can move through it. And there's all these different ways to navigate. There's different sort of experiences that the company might have as a priority for you, or they want you to do, or like the case in point is like an e-commerce site at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
That you want you to buy something, so that remove as much friction as you can to buy something. But then there's like a lot of restrictions on it. There's things like compliances, like so think of like
especially with the app stores, right?
Right.
You have to. There are certain rules you have to follow, I imagine.
Right. Certain like contrast ratios for text and sizing and for colors and things like that. So it's similar to architecture in the sense that like you have regulations that you need to hit. And so it's a designer's responsibility to take all of those into account and then provide sort of like the best case experience for whatever the business problem is. And then for, I guess the user experience should be pretty solid too. And, now because we're on our phones so much and we're on our, the website so much, it's getting pretty dialed.
Yeah.
But there's just so much, I don't know. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. And then you come up with VR and like that whole
VR world will change, or the augmented reality of sorts, right? Like that's also having like, your Oakley sunglasses then with like Pokemon in front of you or whatever, it's going to be
wild. And, kids don't know anything different. Like I feel like I grew up in an era where we sort of knew the difference a little bit, like between the web and between social media and not having it. And now you see kids and it's like, it's just straight Minecraft from almost day one.
Do you have to study then like kids and human behavior? How much does that go into what you do?
There's a lot of research.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like there's people that are sort of paid for that, and there's a lot of behavioral studies on it. It's not as prominent in like the design industry. I think that all of these apps have a ton of data too.
Yeah.
So the data speaks volumes, and you can kind of see behaviors through that data.
Right.
Which is, it's something that we're all sort of having to be open to, whether we like it or not. If you use TikTok, your information might be going somewhere that you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the tension.
So, but you've also done stuff for some cool brands like Nike and Supreme. What were you doing for those guys? Like, and I imagine like your skate and snow kind of backgrounds played into that. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. I think it's like I've sort of found design through skateboarding and wanting to like make brands and like film friends and stuff like that when I was younger. And so that's definitely like, I guess I attribute that to me having a career in this industry. And then with Nike, I worked on, there was like this phase when, this is super nerdy, but
let's nerd out. Okay. Come on, let's get into it.
Everything went from this, I guess it's a program or coding language called Flash.
Oh, I remember Flash.
Remember Flash?
Yeah, totally. That was when I was going to college. You're like, everything's going to be Flash.
Right. It was like this crazy like keyframe animation mixed with like coding, and a lot of like websites were done back in the day. And things would like move, and it like was super, super cool.
Yeah.
But there was this transition where all these websites moved away from Flash into HTML.